Hey everybody, it's episode 42 with ToonamiGAF podcast. I'm Grim Snow. With me we have Birdbs and Skull
Hello.
and Kuddle.
Are you doing Pig Latin or something? I don't know what's happening right now.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. Clockdell.
What?
That makes no more sense than what you just did before. Whatever.
I get what he's doing. He's doing those early One Piece style mistranslated name things.
Yeah, because like in like bad but bootlegs, like Crocodile will beat like Clockdell.
That is way too obscure.
And then like Usopp was literally Crookboo.
Oh yeah, and Oars was Oz.
Well, no, that's not. Well, that's much later than we're talking about. I mean, that's not awful.
Oh.
But man, the days of Lolu Flamingus, Lolu Flululu, and Bisoromi Bear.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, I remember hearing about it.
No, some of them were really bad.
Some guy was talking about how he would hear kids being like, "Oh man, did you hear when, Rufy fought Clockdell?" And it's like, ugh. The dude literally runs around with crocodiles in a gigantic underwater tank, and you call him Clockdell.
I'm pretty sure no one cares about this except for you right now. Just letting you know.
I'm trying to do an intro.
I think we're past the intro at this point.
Maybe a little bit.
Okay. Anyway, let's just move right into the block with Dragon Ball Super.
Was there any news this week to discuss? I'm trying to think of some, but
I don't think so.
Don't believe so.
Summer Jump we talked about last week, or I guess you guys did. So that's pretty much it, right?
The only thing that was weird this week was a Bizarro music video.
Oh well, yeah, they're always fucking stupid. I don't know what kind of I mean, DeMarco's a fine guy, but he has some weird ass taste in music and videos.
And anytime anyone pushes back, that just makes him more resolute.
I mean, that was basically that might as well have been a 5-minute clip of Mr. Pickles for all it's worth.
And it was long. Like One Piece didn't start until like 3:04, or like 2:34.
Yeah, that thing was so long it actually got its own ratings.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was. Yeah, I'm sure that's why wasn't One Punch Man higher rated than One Piece?
I mean, it's been doing that.
Well, I was gonna say maybe the whatever the fuck music video drove some people away, but I guess it might have just been for the finale of One Punch Man. Either way, who can tell?
Yeah. Anyway, Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super Episode 4, Bid for the Dragon Balls, Pilaf and Crew's Impossible Mission. So we've gone from, this series is about the epic quest to gather the Dragon Balls and grant 3 wishes to almost just giving them away at bingo.
Yeah.
Like you knew the second she was like, I have a super secret top prize, and you're like, it's the Dragon Balls, isn't it?
Yeah, because, I mean, anyone can, get them all together in like 10 minutes.
Which makes them an incredibly lame top prize. Like, Android 18 is totally right to go for the castle.
Couldn't she wish for a castle? I mean
she could.
Yeah, somebody said that in the thread.
Is that how they got the castle inside the ship? Just been like, bring out Shenron, put this castle in this ship.
Or more like Shenron, I want a boat that can fit a castle inside it, like the freaking TARDIS.
They put a fucking castle in that ship. What the fuck?
She probably had it taken apart and then rebuilt in the ship.
The Princess Bulma.
Bulma, richest woman on Earth.
Or she capsulized it.
Yeah. So this was weird because I never watched Dragon Ball, like I think a lot of people.
Nobody watched Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
so are you in the same position as Sonic, or do you mean Dragon Ball Classic, not Dragon Ball Z?
Well, both for me, but I mean, I mean, I had seen like some episodes of Dragon Ball Z, but I've never watched the original Dragon Ball. So these three characters, Pilaf and these other two, I had never seen them before.
Mine Shun, I believe their names are.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know, like just.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And like people were talking about in a thread, they're like little kids, and I'm thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense because this is like Goku grew up, and apparently, I guess from what I read was that they had wished themselves young by accident or something.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever animated. I think it's just said in a manga or something, but it's never animated that happening to them.
Huh.
Right.
So yeah, anyway, but they were fun. I thought they were pretty fun, actually.
No, I mean, it was a fun episode. It's not what people are used to, I think, from the series.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think, and a lot of people have been expressing this in the thread, especially when you start moving to the final chapters discussion, is that people have been really appreciating these kind of downtime Dragon Ball episodes. And Super has a lot more of them than you see in Dragon Ball Z. I think Super is trying to go more back towards the Dragon Ball style.
Good.
Where it has serious arcs, but also has like slice of life arcs as well. So you want to see a lot of these episodes in Super, and you'll see more of them moving forward. So I don't know. I guess the general sense I've had is that within the thread, people have appreciated episodes like these.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest. Like
They're
for
better.
fighting anime, Dragon Ball is iconic and has this historical significance, but like it just pales comparison to something like One Punch Man or something like it's just the choreography and animation doesn't really stack up by modern standards for like oh my god, do you see that action scene, or even like the really good Naruto episodes doesn't compare to that. But so the fighting's cool, but
oh yeah, I mean, I think a good mix is healthy, and I definitely am one of those people who appreciates this I can't even get my words out. The more comedy that's in this series, like it's just funnier to watch, and I like that. So yeah, I totally agree. I think it's good. It's good for both of these shows right now. I mean, I am dreading, I guess, in the future when Dragon Ball Z Kai, the final chapters, is probably just going to turn back into more, Cell Saga type stuff. So.
Oh, it's probably going to be unbearable.
Yeah. But
Boo Saga's pretty hit or miss. Like there's some highlights, there are high points to the Boo Saga. Like I think it has well, I guess you haven't seen it, so I won't spoil stuff, but it definitely has one of the better fights in the series and a few key character development moments. But then there's also a lot of like they're clearly making this arc like twice as long as it needs to be, and like why hasn't it ended already moments. So
it's like 60-something episodes.
It's way too long.
Yeah, the original version was like 190 or something, right? The original version?
It was something stupid.
Or was it 90? I think it was 90, excuse me. Because I think the Boo Saga in the original Dragon Ball Z starts at episode 200, right? And then the show ends at 291. So I think it was 91 episodes, which is still a lot more than 69. And 69 is a lot, and he didn't really do as much condensing with Boo Kai, to my understanding, as they did with the previous arcs. But
yeah, I kind of wish they did.
And some of those arcs still went on too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first I've heard that Super overall has more lighthearted stuff going forward. So that's really positive thing to say as far as I'm concerned.
I will say that Super does pull like Super tugs at Dragon Ball nostalgia pretty hard in the sense that it'll refer to events back in Dragon Ball and pull out characters and reference from there as well. Like even the most recent episode of Super, I'm not going to spoil things obviously, but they had like returning characters from Dragon Ball, returning references from Dragon Ball. So it really kind of plays into the entire franchise. But yeah, Super overall does take a better balance of slice of life and combat. And there are even a few character development moments as well. I will also say that the Pilaf gang sticks around for a very, very long time, though they're not super relevant at some points versus others, but they're going to keep coming back up, even outside this arc. So get used to them.
So basically, they just put Team Rocket back in.
In a sense.
Kinda, not really. Like, they're not threatening at all. They're just sort of chilling out.
Well, neither is Team Rocket. Technically.
I mean, Team Rocket at least tries. I mean, these guys just don't.
Well, they try. I mean, I don't know. The PLF gang tries too, but they're like babies, like and idiots. Though there's more that can be said about them in future arcs. But one thing I will mention is that has everyone seen the movie Battle of Gods here?
I have not.
Oh, most haven't? Oh, okay. I'll just say that they actually made some changes to the PLF gang and their interactions in this arc with respect to the movie. And it's weird because at first those changes don't matter, but then like in 50 episodes from now, they do matter. And it's just really weird that they made those changes. So
Well,
we'll come back to that at a later point, but I'll just say that for.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even assumed they were in it. Frankly, I would not
Yeah,
have assumed.
I would not. I would have thought they were just inserted in as kind of like a filler episode.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I
no,
figured
Oh
too.
no, they're in the movie, but they do things a little differently in the movie, and those changes end up not mattering now, but then end up mattering in like 50 episodes, and it's really weird. But
Yeah.
So,
can
what
see
did
it
you
at the
guys
time.
what did you guys think of the art style in this episode with the thick lines and stuff?
Looked pretty good.
I got no problem with thick lines.
I thought it looked good too.
I liked it a lot. It added very cartoony feel to it. I think something like Dragon Ball really is benefited by something like that. Those kind of classic thick lines, and obviously, just given the way that anime is produced, you don't see necessarily consistency of style that you see in a lot of Western animations. So, like these thick lines won't be back next episode, for example. But there are definitely certain episodes in the future where they kind of play a little bit with the art style, and sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's for the worse. But you can see what they're doing, and for this circumstance, it's for the better. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
my only complaint is that they probably won't keep with it, and I don't like inconsistency and stuff like that. But I live with it. But the fact that they did it, I'm glad because I thought it looked cool.
Apparently, next episode has the infamous Bork faces.
They touch it up a little bit for the Blu-ray, but it's still kind of like
It's not good.
Like that flat Beerus face is just that is my life.
But really, the issue is that Dragon Ball Super had basically no pre-production. I'm sure you're all familiar with generally how anime is produced with like pre-production. You need some lead time to actually make your episodes and whatnot.
They
'Cause it
didn't
takes
have
like
any.
weeks to make one episode, and they stagger things and whatnot. But I assume you guys recall that they announced Dragon Ball Super, I think,
Yeah.
in spring 2015, and then it was airing in July 2015. That's barely
Yeah.
enough time to make any good number of anime episodes. So that's basically what happened. They got into a work kind of clusterfuck, and that messed up some of the episodes, including that one.
I
So
mean,
basically, oh, go ahead.
They dragged their way out at some point. It's not always bad.
Well, it gets. I mean, most of Battle of the Gods arc is pretty decent, and then Return of Frieza or Resurrection F, excuse me. We'll see what happens there. It's
Yeah.
not good things, but from
No,
then on,
it's not. I mean, for later on, they sort of managed to drag their way out, and the episodes
Right.
are generally good now.
Yeah, if you follow production, there's been some they've been saying some things they've kind of been trying to rejigger things and move around directors to try to build up that what's the word I want to use?
Backlog?
Yes, there we go. To try to make buffer episodes and improve their production. So some of the later episodes have been pretty good. For example, the latest episode of Dragon Ball Super I thought was kind of okay from a production standpoint, but last week's episode of Dragon Ball Super was pretty fantastic, I felt. And there was even a few really good episodes in Arc that I guess I won't touch upon right now, but its future arc has a few really standout episodes as well.
So there are some other things in this show. Bulma's amazing security system on the Dragon Balls is plug it into a wall.
Oh yeah.
Trunks is just like unplug.
Well, I mean, that's sort of the thing is, she's way too smart for this shit, and she thinks, oh, everyone's going to see that thing, and nobody's going to think to unplug it.
Also,
Well,
in-
it helped that he had the password because she left it on the kitchen table.
Well, that too, yeah.
I mean,
Bulma's not good at security.
No.
yeah, she just didn't give a shit. Let's be honest, she just didn't give a shit. That's all it is.
She made it look good, but that's about it.
Also, Android 18 is like really into that castle.
She wants to live in a goddamn castle.
How are we
Is that
feeling
so
about
wrong?
how are we feeling about her voice? I think it's pretty good.
I got no problem with it. It's fine.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Were people upset about that? It seemed like a non-issue to me.
I think some people cared a little more than others.
I think
But
they
this is her
cared more
original
about the
voice
fact
actor,
that.
right?
Well, I think people cared more about the fact that it just changes. That's not so much that it's getting better or worse. It's just not
Oh,
consistent.
okay.
It's different.
But it's her original voice actor. Like the one in Kai was a different one because the original VA was unavailable. But this is her original one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I was told. So
I don't really even recall really
she
the difference.
sounds
between the
kind of older or kind of more serious than the one I heard in Kai. That's the impression I get.
Well, I mean, she is older now.
I guess
You know?
technically it works in that sense. Yeah.
I mean, in Kai, she was like, what? She was a teenager that came out of cryo freeze or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. Was she that young? I don't know.
They should
I
never
mean,
have called them androids, by the way. They should be
they were
called
cyborgs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody's hung up on the fact that she can have a kid. Well, if she's a cyborg, that doesn't
She should be
prevent her
able
from
to, yeah.
having kids. But they called her an android. This is why everybody's confused.
Well,
Yeah.
it's Japan going to Japan, like they clearly
As long
Toriyama's
as it
first
sounds
language is
cool.
not English. So
Yeah. The only other things I remember happening in this episode were, of course, the Pilaf gang doing their comedy shtick stuff, and then Bulma getting mad at Vegeta because he won't come to the party, and then, of course, there's the stuff that happens on King Kai's planet, where King Kai continues to constantly be harassed by Goku, destroying his house, and
That man is never going to be able to
no,
fix his house at
I
this
loved
rate.
I love they cut to a scene, like when they cut to the part where they're at King Kai's planet. He's just sort of casually talking to the monkey and the little bug guy, and he's just sort of like, he's like, yeah, it's just such a terrible situation I'm in. I just constantly getting crap from this guy. It's like, I need a
Yeah.
vacation.
He does need a vacation. Goku keeps doing shit to him, like
Yeah.
blowing him up and bothering him.
I get it, it's a joke, but what bugged me about it this last episode was that he like blew up his house, and then he goes, and then Goku goes like, he's like, oh man, I'm so sorry, and then just changes the subject, and I'm like, dude, you blew his freaking house, fix it, you jerk.
Honestly, King Kai could fix it in like 10 seconds if he wanted to. He just likes, doing it the hard way so he can complain at Goku.
Well, Goku should do it. It's his freaking fault. He's like he thinks he can just like say he's sorry and that's good enough.
Well, he's kind of a dumbass. What do you want?
Yeah, he's too much of a dumbass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's that sort of thing. Would you trust Goku to build you a house?
Well, no, I guess not. But I mean, like, it's like at least help instead of just going back to training.
He'd probably break it again if he helped.
Yeah. Yeah, he is pretty much a menace. And then I guess Beerus does show up at the very end, and so obviously they're going to face off, I guess, next episode.
Yeah. Oddly enough, it took Beerus about exactly the amount of time he said it would take him to get there. The length of the average anime episode.
Oh, that was funny. I remember that now.
They knew.
Yeah. I wonder if that was in the Japanese version or if that was a dub added rewrite.
I get the feeling that's a Funimation being
cheeky, yeah.
Being cheeky.
I feel like I recall it being in the original, but I don't have the time to go and check on Crunchyroll or whatever. But I feel like it was in the original.
And then, like, he was trying to extract from King Kai, like, what the big issue was, because he didn't want to tell him that Beerus was coming, and he like, throws out some lines, like, is it as bad as, like, pee-peeing in the hot spring, or something like that? And I'm like golly.
I mean, in real, let's be real, that is pretty bad. You shouldn't do that.
No.
If you go to the hot spring, please don't pee in there.
I think Goku, when they first show up, he thinks Whis is Beerus.
He does.
Yeah, he does.
I think so too. Yeah.
So that's going to be great when he just goes up to Whis and is like, "Hey, Beerus, how's it going?"
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty good episode overall. Pretty funny, mostly. And again, like we've been saying, it's like these lighthearted, non-fighting episodes are some of the funner ones because it's all just about good character interaction.
Yeah. Which is actually, it's good enough, Mm-hmm. That's sort of what gets me about Dragon Ball Z is they keep doing the like long, slogging fight things. And like, you can cut down on that a little bit, guys. Just chill. Give me more Goku and Piccolo who are going to drive cars or Gohan and Videl hanging out in high school.
I think
that's the good stuff.
Speaking of Gohan and Videl hanging out in high school, Dragon Ball Z Kai.
The final
Dragon Ball.
Gotta wait for him to say the episode.
Oh.
Dragon Ball Z Kai. The final chapter is episode 102. A monster is spirited away. The culprit is Great Saiyaman. Okay, so we've clearly just gone into this has nothing to do with anything else.
What do you mean?
I mean, outside of Videl finally putting the pieces together, it's just like, hey, save this pterodactyl.
I mean, that's kind of important.
It's a throwback to Dragon Ball.
I know. But, I mean, it's kind of more clear that this was something that was left in for the American version.
I guess. I mean, like, you see it a little bit more in Super, but they really... I don't know how to explain this, but it's basically they took like a Superman the animated series story for like this one. I feel like, you know.
Well, I mean, this episode does have a purpose, and that's the
Yeah.
fact that she figures out who he is.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
can you do that without that, you know,
The bird thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you try to cut any more out, don't you just end up cutting or making the really confusing? Wait, how did Vidal figure this out? Like, doesn't that just get really confusing if you cut too much more out of than they already did?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you have to give her some way to figure it out, and I guess as good a way as any.
Yeah. I do have to say though, I mean, I wrote this down. It's like Videl is amazing. Like I know she eventually turns out to not be in the future, but right
No,
now,
she's still pretty cool in the future.
like she is the coolest character in this show by far.
Oh, definitely. Like that's what pisses me off is when we make the transfer into like the Boo Saga proper is we don't see her as much. You know, like
I mean, because what's she gonna do?
yeah.
Yeah, she can't really contribute. Like,
I mean, I will say they're doing a lot of Dragon Ball spin-offs lately, and I do hope that they sort of realize that one of them should be Gohan and Videl going to high school and, you know, saving the world in like weird outfits.
Yeah.
They should just power up Videl to like Z fighter levels, but they won't do that.
you can just
Well,
be as
I mean,
powerful as Yamcha.
At this point, she's lost all her spunk, right?
No, it's. I mean, in the most recent Super stuff, she was. It's not so much she lost her spunk; it's she matured.
What we've seen from her in Super so far has been pretty flat.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
She hasn't had much opportunity in Super unless you're all caught up on everything.
Okay. Well, that's a little reassuring.
Yeah. Like
the other-
she's still got like a bit of, you know, tough in there, but it's a more mature type thing, you know.
Gotcha. So we finally get a call from the deadbeat dad beyond the grave, Goku.
He's coming back.
It's like, did somebody say tournament?
Yeah, exactly. It's like they screw talking to his family about anything, but once there's a tournament, oh man, he shows up for the first
And then
time.
Gohan's like, Dad, you've been dead for 10 years.
You couldn't like give us a call, and like how useless is death? Like he just gets a cheat day.
Oh yeah, he gets a day pass basically.
Yeah, like he gets a cheat day from death. I'm like, seriously?
How useless is death that he can just kind of make a cell phone call whenever the fuck he wants?
Well, I mean that too. It's like, why even like have him be dead? Just have him hang out on Earth with the Halo and shit.
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of how Goku got reintroduced to this arc, or that he really needed to be reintroduced.
They could have left him dead. I would have watched Gohan versus Vegeta.
It totally smells to me of somebody at Toei, or well, is this Toei? I think it's Toei.
Jump.
Somebody there going, hey, you know what? People really like Goku. Let's
He's got to come back.
Yeah, get him into the story again somehow.
I guess his editors as that Shuichi or whatever the character they jump in. Because this was in the manga, so
yeah, it was probably a thing like, oh, maybe they didn't like maybe they weren't smart enough to like Gohan being, you know, Superman in high school because it was awesome.
Yeah, it's so funny to me though that like it's the first time they've talked. I know, I agree. I mean, technically he's dead, so you wouldn't expect to get a call from Goku, but we do know that he can call him at any time.
Yeah, like he's hanging out with, like he spends all his time with King Kai.
Exactly, and it's just like you're never going to contact your family ever for anything, but the moment there's a tournament, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to come on down for this tournament. Screw you guys, I don't really care about Chi-Chi."
And it's like,
go to the
you've never met your second son.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm like, they have Dragon Balls. Couldn't they just wish themselves to, frickin' New Namek, wish him back, and then wish themselves back to...
like, the thing is that he literally does not want to come back to life.
Yes, that's the problem. He doesn't give a crap about his family. That's the problem.
He is a deadbeat dad.
No, the excuse is that if he's alive, people will come to find him and fight him. But then in Super, we immediately see that, no. Sorry, Goku, you are the protagonist of this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
Like it wouldn't be a problem if the afterlife was like an actual separate thing. But no, the
Yeah.
afterlife is just a different planet in the galaxy you go to.
Something like that. Yeah,
Like,
it
I
is
don't-
because
I'm
they
not
go
e-
there. Yeah.
I'm not even sure how the hell it's supposed to work.
We've talked about this on the show before at great length. There is no
It
clear
makes no
answer.
sense. Yeah.
It's like a place, but then it's not really a place, and yeah, it's weird.
Like the Supreme Kai's got his own planet somewhere, and
I mean, is there an anime that has like a life and an afterlife that actually keeps them like relatively and decently separated?
Yeah, Amagatas does.
that,
Amagami-sama. That
I-
has like a true afterlife place you can go to.
I actually, you're right about that. The first one for sure, but I don't think that was an afterlife so much as like this is where
Oh,
the
I guess you're
gods
right.
are.
Yeah, it's not
That's
a
where the
place where dead
demons
people
are.
go. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. It's not a. It's like where they run the universe, but it isn't a place where
Yeah.
people die. You're right.
Yeah. I mean,
If that's what you mean, if
honest,
you mean where people go to die, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I mean,
Because
Bleach
even, like,
did a
in Bleach, the life and death system doesn't actually really make sense when you think about it.
yeah. No, it doesn't.
Weird. And there's other anime feel where like life and death not only don't mean much, but don't really make a lot of sense in how they work.
Yeah.
So apparently, when anyone in the world dies, they show up in feudal Japan.
Yeah. Or they go to the Mexican desert.
Or is it literally just like, okay, this feudal Japan is only for dead Japanese people?
I was gonna say, is it like the Harry
Is it like
Potter world where there's like the European
If you
place
die-
and then the American place and the
when you're a Canadian and you die, you just become a maple tree.
But
Or,
yeah,
or you go to
would it
like
be
space
based on-
Quebec.
Would it be based on where you die or where you're born? And like, because that's different, obviously.
I mean, who knows?
I would assume where you die. I mean, if only because it's closer.
But then that'd be really weird if you were just like never set foot in Japan in your life. Then you go when you're 80s, like on some vacation, you get hit by a bus, and then you're feudal Japan as like an 80-year-old like white dude or black dude. You're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, then you're shit out of luck.
yeah. I have a feeling-
Welcome to feudal Japan. Hope you enjoy your nice afterlife of feudal Japan poverty.
Well, here's a good answer. I mean, think about it like this. And again, I am the least person who understands Bleach because I didn't really pay too much attention to
No
it.
one paid attention to
But
Bleach.
you guys paid more attention to it. Is there a character in Bleach that's based on like a gaijin kind of American character?
I think Chad's an American dude.
No, he's Mexican Japanese. He's
Mexican
half
Japanese.
Mexican. He's Mexican and half Mexican, half Japanese.
Okay.
So there are a few people like in Bleach who are clearly look. I mean, is Dan Kanonji? Is he like they
No, I
never
think
really
he's just-
go into his background, but I think we're
he's
supposed
just
to
a
assume
weird
he's not
Japanese
Japanese.
dude.
Huh?
Yeah, he's just a weird Japanese dude, I think.
Is he? Okay. Well, because like Dan Kanonji was like clearly like he was like dark skinned Japanese. He was like clearly black, so I wasn't sure what was going on with him. I
Like
don't know.
the thing that's just making me lose my mind here is that you're talking about this Don Kanonji character, and I actually know who the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, that makes me a little sad too.
I'm like, I should not know who the fuck this character is,
And
but I
yes,
do.
It sounds like that there isn't anybody who was like a character in Bleach who was like, I just came over from America. I'm here. There's nobody
don't-
like that.
They don't really play it up, but there are definitely characters in Bleach who are clearly like they're not ambiguously brown. They're like this person clearly isn't Japanese, even if they have a Japanese name and are in Japan. They clearly ethnically are not Japanese. Like
Hello,
so,
hello,
But that's different,
Yorobiki.
though. Yeah,
So
but
it's
I mean
a
that's
little
different.
weird.
I'm talking about like a character who doesn't live in Japan, because you could make the argument that if you live in Japan, you get the Japanese afterlife. That's what I'm saying.
well, how long have you lived in Japan for?
I don't know. Maybe you just have to die there. I don't know.
So Dragon Ball Z Kai, the final chapters.
Yeah. Okay.
So I like to imagine that Gohan's confrontation with the circus guy. He's just like, "Give me the pterodactyl," and he's like, "No," and Gohan's like, "Kame."
I remember they cut an episode out. It was Gohan getting blackmailed for the first time.
Oh, by the redhead, right, or something?
Yeah, and like my favorite scene from that episode is basically when she's trying to tell Videl his secret, and he's like, I'm going to start yelling like I'm going to power up, and that'll fix my problem. And then he does it, and then he stops. He's like, wait, my problem's not fixed. And he keeps trying to do it because that's how he was taught to problem solve, is just yell really loud.
That is amazing.
It really is. And it's just like it shows how screwed up his childhood is.
We also got a scene with Hercule, aka Mr. Satan.
Oh, he's the best.
And I can't remember, did he say he was or wasn't going to participate in this tournament?
No, he is. He's going to be there.
Okay.
I mean, he has to be. He's the reigning champ, so he kind of has to be there.
Okay.
I mean, he doesn't have to be there, but I mean, he's too big a ham not to show up.
Yeah, and so we know, of course, that Gohan now has a mildly different disguise with sunglasses, so he'll be there, and then Videl, I'm sure, is going to be there. So
yeah,
cool.
Oh yeah, you have I keep forgetting you haven't seen Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, she's there. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, I saw I think in the lineup promo, there's a shot of her in an arena fighting, so that's how I know.
Oh, did
Yeah.
he spoil that? Oh, okay, so yeah.
So, let's move on to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Episode 14, Ultimate Warriors from Ancient Times. Okay. Awaken my masters! C. Kohler put the music in there.
What the-
Ah,
okay.
yeah. Da-da-da-da-da.
You
I
got
was
it.
gonna start playing the song on YouTube, but I guess if you're gonna edit it in manually, I'll not
Yeah, I'll
that.
do it. I'll just do it.
oh god,
That is such a that's such a legendary intro.
no, that was some awesome shit.
So yeah,
Like
we've got.
like he just says his name. It's like whoa.
Okay, so yeah, here's I wrote down some notes because this is all
Yeah,
new to me, of course.
Wait, it's Cars and
Wham.
AC/DC.
Yeah, so
Cars,
Cars,
Wham, and AT.
were the names of the
Cars,
three
Wham,
guys,
and AC/DC.
which
Like-
is awesome.
Like Araki's not even trying to pretend at this
So why
point that
did
he's
those-
naming people after
did those-
bands.
Why did those stay and yet they named Santana to San Viento?
No,
Because
they
they're all
changed the spelling.
they changed the spelling. They sound exactly like the band names, but they're spelled completely differently.
Like Cars is with a K and AC/DC
No,
has S's and E's.
But they
Right,
could
but
have.
that wasn't the translation from English that did that. That was already done in Japanese. Like it wasn't compared to America that Cars was done with a K. In Japan, it was already done like that.
Are you
I've
sure? Because I'm
seen-
pretty sure
I've
AC/DC was just AC/DC.
I have seen some media where they're just straight up the band names.
Are they
Yeah.
unofficial translations? Because that doesn't really count.
It really is the case that the unofficial translation might have stuck and become basically official.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like he didn't spell out AC/DC AC/DC in the manga. I like
Hey,
99.
I'm gonna look this up.
Okay. Well, while you're looking that up, they also introduced the character who I was wondering was in the opening, and his name, I guess, is Caesar Zappelli,
Yep.
Mhm.
and he's got the same hat. It looks like.
Yep.
And this guy's like kind of a prick, which is funny and interesting, like a real womanizer. But he's pretty fun.
He's Bryce Pappenbrook trying to do an Italian accent.
Oh, okay. I didn't recognize that.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that in his voice, and I was just like, really? Like, why?
It's not terrible. I can deal with it.
I like how they don't like each other. I'm sure at some point they'll get along,
Yeah.
but right now they're just at each other's throats. Pretty funny.
So Caesar uses bubbles. C. Kohler edited in fucking bubbles there.
Okay.
Probably.
Bubbles.
Yeah,
That
I like how he was explaining his attack, and it's like, I have a thin film of soap all over my body, and you're just thinking like,
What?
what's that?
I
Okay,
guess
dude,
he
you're a
does.
creeper. You must be creepy to touch.
Yeah.
So apparently you can use Hamon to mind control people, I guess.
I guess.
You
I
could do
kinda
that you could do that in part 1 too. Remember when Jonathan did that to Wang Chang in effect with his last bit of Hamon? So
Oh no.
like
Huh.
I mean Hamon's kind of like do whatever you want. I think the technical explanation is the manipulation of the blood and the water in the person's body, considering all the blood in your brain and whatnot or something around there. I think that's the explanation, quote unquote. But really, it's just like Hamon does whatever the fuck it wants whenever
Okay.
he can, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not bent out of shape about it. I just was kind of taken aback. I'm like, oh, okay, this is something you could do now.
You just
It
don't
does
give a shit.
exactly what you need, exactly when you need it.
Yeah.
Zinthos.
Yeah, think of it more as body control than mind control. I think is the apt thing to.
Yeah, that's probably the way to. All right,
See-
I can't find a raw version of the manga anywhere.
All right. The So yeah, because he totally turned that like girl on on JoJo.
Oh yeah,
And then JoJo's like, I stuck a pigeon in her mouth.
because why not?
And then you realize, yep, you're in part 2. This
And
is
this-
part 2.
This episode ended on like the most epic looking pose, where he's got like his
God.
hand in front of his face.
It's like,
It's
like
one of
an
the most
album
iconic
cover.
poses in all of JoJo. Like it's one of the most
well,
iconic.
I mean, they're all like album covers.
Yeah.
Like, part 2 has like 2 of the most iconic poses in JoJo.
They got the Pillarman pose. Was like,
No,
Mhm.
okay,
that was-
yeah, 3.
I'm trying to think of what the other one is without spoiling.
Pillarman pose. We just
It's the Cars pose from later. It's also a hand in front of face pose.
Oh, okay. I remember which pose you're talking about. All right, I think I do, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I know what they're talking about now.
Anyway, so yeah, we've got our new villains: Cars, Wamu, and AC/DC. I love saying I love just saying AC/DC.
The one thing I will critique
it's
is
just
that it feels like there are a few parts of part 2 where it just feels like, wait, why are they here? Or like, how did they know this? Or like, it feels like, so basically, my understanding of things generally is that the Germans found the original Pillman somewhere in Italy somehow. And
Well, no.
Yeah.
We know how. They did explain. They said that they were researching the mask that what's his face had.
Santana.
Yeah, they I think they found the mask, or that they had the mask from.
We must have found a mask somewhere at some point because there
Yeah.
are tons of masks all over the planet.
Okay.
So they must have found a mask, and that somehow took them, I guess, to the original 3 Pillmen. And then they're like, "Yo, what the hell's this?" And then someone else, or like they found out that Speedwagon found Santana, and then started experimenting with that. But then like the Pillmen escaped. There are little things that are just like, I mean, that's weirdly convenient, or like that doesn't feel like it should have happened at that point in time.
Let's just
Like-
go with they
Yeah.
had been researching doing research off Santana, like at least the pillar that Santana was in for at least
A
quite a
while.
few days before Joseph showed up.
No, yeah,
Yeah, no.
that's true. But I'm saying the way the narrative works out, they had to find the first 3 Pillmen before they found Santana, because that's basically what Stroheim tells Joseph.
Well, I kind of took that to be just because, like, there's, just like they do in the Indiana Jones movies, they always talk about how, like, the Nazis were, like, researching a bunch of occult stuff.
well, I mean, they were doing that
I
shit.
mean, that's like true in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just assume this is just something that effort resulted in.
Oh yeah, that's the same
Yeah.
thing in Marvel Comics with the Red Skull and everything. Like every
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nazi fiction has them fucking around with
messing
magic.
with that shit.
Yeah, that's how I rationalize that. So
I don't know. There's a few little, I guess it's not really important in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't really harm the enjoyment. But there were definitely a few parts now in the future where it feels like there's a bit of a jump that doesn't necessarily make 100% sense
Oh yeah.
narratively.
Well, let me just state right now and forever going forward that this show doesn't need to have a super consistent plot for me to enjoy it. It is so much bizarre stuff happens in this show that I'm willing to give it all kinds of leniency regarding plot holes and other things. It's just ridiculous.
It doesn't make the show bad at all. I just feel, at least for me, there are a few instances, especially in the future, where it feels like they could have tightened up a little bit, and I would have liked it more. But
Oh,
it
okay.
doesn't
Yeah.
destroy the show. Oh, the show's unacceptable, and just start flipping tables. It's just like that little thing doesn't make sense, and I don't hate it,
Mhm.
but I really wish it made more sense because I'm that type of person.
Because at the end of the day, I'm pretty much can guess that JoJo will always win, and it really won't matter how. It's just he'll just pull some power out of his ass and win, and because
Will
he's
he
the
always
good
win?
guy.
He didn't win in part 1.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
he
I guess
won.
he kind of won, but Yeah,
Did he?
I just mean that he is the victor in the like grand scheme of things or whatever. So,
Is he?
well, I mean, I guess.
Well, anyway, I guess we'll move on from
We'll
this
see.
point. But
So I appreciate Wamu's, technique for taking out a whole bunch of Nazis.
Yeah,
Just
Ram
say
just
right
rammed
now,
them.
Connect them all together and stick them down in a line.
That was very original. Was not expecting that.
It was
Oh, and
fantastic.
he walked through that Brad guy and like sliced him in half.
That Brad guy.
it was Mark, I think his name was.
Or was it
Mark.
Mark? Okay, I knew it was something like that.
Farewell, Mark. You were a Nazi.
2 weeks away from retirement. So
I
close.
can't be bothered. I mean, he was a Nazi.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that he didn't actually get sliced. If you recall from when they're experimenting on Santana,
Yeah.
Mamu's body, or was it AC/DC's body, actually partially absorbed Mark just by touching.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a pretty gruesome way to go because he's sitting there going, I couldn't feel it at first, but now I can feel it. It hurts. And I'm like, damn.
So cold.
And then somebody in the thread was like, how is he even talking? He's missing half a brain. I'm like, whatever.
He's
Yeah, that's
missing
not
a
something that
lung.
bothers me. Yeah.
I mean, it's not only half a brain; he's missing some lungs too. You know?
It's the same thing as what happened to Zeppeli, where he had half a body and then he had
right.
like a 2-minute long dialogue.
Well, I mean, Zeppeli had like all his lungs and shit.
But you bleed out and
Yeah, I don't think
stop first and then you bleed out. So like
it's
His
one of
Hummel
those.
didn't allow his blood to
Oh, you know
bleed
what?
out.
Actually, you know what? That actually is a good point. The hormone probably kept him alive somehow.
sure. Didn't he transfer it all to Jonathan?
Who the hell knows?
So yeah, exactly. But manly fighting spirits that kept him alive.
That's right. Yeah. It was
There you
basically
go.
The spirit of Kamina.
Yes. The manly fighting spirit inherited from Kamina.
So, guess we'll fight the Pillarmen next week.
Yay.
Yay! Let's move on to Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn, Episode 4, Full Frontal's Pursuit. In this episode, I don't know.
Full frontal pursues him, I guess.
Yeah.
I literally don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, in all honesty, sake, the show is gorgeous. The dub is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I just can't really be bothered to care.
Here's the problem with the show. I figured it out.
Yeah.
Go. You go ahead, and I'll give my part.
I think part of the problem is we're only, again, we're still only getting like a third of an episode every time, so it's like all these weird cuts.
It was not.
The
The problem is that it seems like Gundam feels like, okay, here is the way you should be watching our show. You should be sitting down and writing down every unfamiliar term or name you come across, and then be like, oh boy, I can't wait till I can finally make sense of all this.
Yeah, that was where I was going with this, basically. What I was going to say is the problem with this show, and it was the same problem we had with IBO, is that Gundam gets so caught up on trying to be as complicated as it can be, narrative-wise. Like, anybody who was like making a screenplay or doing something like this, like 101, they'd say there's too much back history here. There's too many names that you're throwing out, too many acronyms that you're throwing out. There's just too many. It's just too much to know. Before you say that, I mean, like he says, like, there was a part where he goes, somebody is going into like a little brief history of what's happening, and they're saying, oh yeah, this was the mech that was found at the blah blah blah, it was part of the blah blah blah, and it was in the battle of the blah blah blah, and I'm thinking, none of this is going to matter. Why
all here's like Lelu Lalu Lo is all I'm hearing when them saying this.
Exactly, and I'm like, why are you even saying this? They think it makes it sound more interesting, or like it has more important.
The thing is, all of this stuff is stuff that the Japanese people that are watching the show, they know about it already. Like, this is like all backstory stuff that they all know. It's like
plot fan service for them, right?
Yeah.
It's like what if I dropped you into an episode of One Piece that was like, okay, we're finally revealing the Void Century.
Or it's like,
and you had no idea and you had never watched any One Piece before.
Right. Or if, like, say you're gonna just be handed like the back half of the seventh Harry Potter book, and you've never read anything else.
I guess that makes sense because like I can accept that in like let's say a One Piece movie where if you go to see a One Piece movie, there's an understanding that you need to kind of understand One Piece. They're not going to explain everything to you. But this as a show feels like it ought to be able to stand on its own legs, and it doesn't because it does, but like it.
Yeah.
Why telling me this stuff? Like what they should have done is like had all that in the background. And so, like if you're a fan of Gundam, you can go, "Oh, I bet that's the mech that was at the Battle of blah blah blah," and you'd be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's it. I recognize that." But instead, they explain it to you. They have to go and say it all, and I'm as a viewer going, "Do I need to know this?"
Yeah,
So I think there are two issues I want to expand on here, and one of them, I guess, is of course the way they actually present the material, because this is obviously we've all, I'm sure, encountered work that was a small part of a larger body. Yeah. And I'm sure we haven't all felt the same way where we're just like, I have no idea what's happening and I can't be bothered to care. I just don't think they're doing a very good job of presenting information in an engaging way. It doesn't, I think even if it's just like you don't have a lot of background in the Universal Century, the way the dialogue is structured, the way the narrative is structured, they could have done a better job of engaging the viewer and pulling them into what's going on. Even if you don't have all the background information in terms of like what happened in the original Gundam or Zeta Gundam or Double Z Gundam or whatever whatever the hell. Like you shouldn't need that information to enjoy that show. And they could have worked the show in different ways that even if they pull from those other series, they could have still structured the dialogue or a narrative or anything else to still make it more engaging to neophytes. So that's one issue.
So people like to make fun of like, as you know, or amnesiac heroes, but there's a reason they're there. And it's because it's
to explain this stuff to us.
It's because then you have an excuse to explain things to the audience. And Gundam is just like, we're not going to explain it. We're not going to explain shit.
Yeah, they can't be bothered at this point because everyone always complains about amnesiac heroes, you know?
Like it's an unsolvable problem.
Well, they're tropes, and they're a good way to do tropes, and they're a bad way to do tropes.
Yes.
And I think if you just do things the right way or execute them correctly, people will forgive you. It's execution that matters more than originality and circumstances like this.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I do think that part of the problem is still that we are seeing essentially 30-minute snippets of 90-minute episodes.
I agree with you. I agree with you that that's a factor, but it's not as big
a factor.
It's not as big a factor as the fact that in that 30 minutes of a 90-minute episode, they shoved more facts at me than any other show on the block.
Yes,
that are meaningless facts that don't really give much to the story.
So one thing you could say is that you could say sure they've chopped up 90-minute OVA into 3 30-minute episodes, or like 60-minute into 3 20-minute episodes. You could contrast it with other series that have arcs that span like multiple episodes, or it's like one event or one fight that covers multiple episodes.
Well, I mean, I will point out that in cases like those, that they do tend to have a narrative structure that we're going to start at this point of the fight and we're going to end at this point of the fight. So it's not really a one-for-one thing.
I mean, the point I was going to make was that they pace things differently in multiple episode arcs, rather than, I think this OVA, they just didn't pace it in a way that would make it more conducive to cutting it up. I think this first third of this OVA, if this is a third of it, is paced like the third of a movie rather than one of multiple episodes are connected to each other.
I mean, when Unicorn was released, it was done so, here's one episode, and then 3 to 6 months later, you get another episode, and, so on and so forth. So they did sort of treat it like a movie series, Yeah.
At the same time, though, there was that OVA series from Space Yamato 2199, which was also a release in that similar fashion, but they executed it well.
Yes.
I don't know who else has seen that. You can only see it subbed, but they did that well.
Oh, are you talking about Space Battleship Yamato 2999?
2199 or
the one that won Anime of the Year?
Yeah, like 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that one. But that wasn't like, it wasn't released on TV, but it was still just kind of a regular, 26 episode series.
Yeah.
Was each episode released in the? Because my understanding is that it was released into movie theaters, but I thought it was chopped up episodes, chopped up movies rather than each individual episode. Because it was a 22 episode series, to my recollection. But yeah, my understanding was that it was similar to this Gun movie, in which was a series of movies shown in theaters and they chopped up for TV.
Well, it can't be that because when I watched them, they were clearly individual episodes.
Yeah.
No, but just saying they paced them in a way that made it more conducive to splitting up. Is my argument. My argument is that series.
If they did that,
well,
I think it's one of those things where they might have made it with the episode in mind that okay, we're going to chop these up later.
You might be thinking it backwards. They took like 3 episodes and then smushed them together into a movie.
No, it came out in theaters first. It didn't come out in TV.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, they might have had that in mind already.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They executed it well. It's a similar concept, but different execution, and that's why it worked for Space Yamato, and it's not working so well here. That's my point.
Right. It's probably that Sunrise didn't have the idea that we're going to do this for, Unicorn.
That's certainly
they probably never expected that they were going to wind up doing it.
Why did they do this? I'm curious.
Honestly, I have no goddamn idea.
Okay.
As far as I knew when it was coming out, they were like, we're going to do these 90-minute episodes and that's it.
Probably like a creative thing.
It was probably a sales thing or something.
Money, I assume, was the more likely issue. But one more point I wanted to make, which I think is something that's been expressed multiple times in the thread, and it's, of course, happened when we've watched other shows that have had similar issues, is that some shows are more or less conducive to a group watch. With a show like this
isn't one.
Like if you're like splitting your attention between watching it and then splitting your attention between posting at like 1 a.m, it becomes very difficult to follow what's going along. That's an issue that you see, for example, with Ghost in the Shell, though Ghost in the Shell, of course, is a far superior show, in my opinion. But similar, it's something similar you see with there or other shows where like they ask you to pay attention, and if you don't, you just get really lost really quickly. And so I just think shows less to group watch than others. So that exacerbates the other issues it already has that we just discussed.
Right, exactly, and that's my point. Is that it has everything to do with the fact that they are doling out a ton of information like rapid fire at you at all times, and if you miss, but made worse by the fact that you don't know which pieces are important to know and which ones aren't. Like some of it's just like, hey, this is a callback, and others are like, oh, I need to know that Audrey is a princess. Like clearly that's important to this show. I made a note to know that, but like other things about like this Gundam being from this battle and some history, I'm like, I know
it
that
might not be that important.
Yeah,
I mean, it's probably just to show how badass that person is.
I think they just love their whole timeline. I think they just love their continuity.
So you're saying they're up their ass?
Kind of.
Bit, yeah.
Navel gazing, I think, is the term or something like that.
Yeah. Again, doing a fair amount of it.
If it would have been me, what I would have done is I would have made this show like they've done it, as animated as beautifully as they've done it, had the great music. Oh, and I do want to say too, the voice talent. You said that earlier that it's good. I think it's really good. Like I haven't heard a voice yet that I didn't like.
Right. I mean, I think at this point the only real problems with the thing are the pacing of the story and all the navel gazing, because
I
think
too is just like, I don't want to say the dialogue's insipid. I don't think that's the appropriate term, but it's very like it's very
clunky.
They're talking the way anime characters talk, serious, rather than like a serious movie or a serious television series. If you get my understanding.
The only other thing I didn't like was we've got these military guys who are just being like generic military guys, like the general guy who's trying to extract the information, and he's just heartless, and it's like, yeah, okay, we've seen this character before. And
this is like the first time we're talking about in like actual details from the episode because none of us know what they are.
I remember very little. I mean, I know they got him out of the Gundam.
Full frontal assaulted them after pursuing them, I guess.
Yeah, like he was just kicking their teeth in.
You just said full frontal assaulted him.
I mean, he was just kicking their teeth in like left and right.
I just want to make a note too that it makes me laugh that the character whose name is Full Frontal is voiced by the guy who does Hisoka.
That's perfect. Voice actor? Okay, I wasn't really thinking.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's move on to Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter episode 36, A Big Debt and a Small Kick. So Hisoka Gon got a punch, and then Hisoka's like, "Okay, you got me. Now die."
Yeah.
Well,
It's
that
like
was
no-
after Hisoka straight up orgasmed for like 2 minutes in the episode.
Yeah, this just seems so unnecessary. Why did Togashi add that to Hisoka's character? That seemed just so unnecessary.
because he's a pervert.
I guess.
Well, I mean, Hisoka's a pervert.
Like,
Yes.
it's not like he's like pretend. This isn't like a case. It doesn't see. From what I understand, this isn't a case where he's just like, "Oh, he's definitely not a pedophile." It's like, no, he actually is.
Well,
kind of a
I don't know.
pedophile.
No, okay. I don't want to argue with you on this, but I don't. That's not the impression I get. I get
Like
this impression that he cares about like wanting to groom Gon to be this real badass fighter in the future that
So he
will
can kill
defeat.
him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
not
I
about,
I mean, that's
like,
basically what it is. But
Yeah, that's
he also
my
does
assessment.
but he's also a pedophile.
That's my assessment of the situation in terms of Hisoka's primary motivations. But you could have done that without orgasming for 2 minutes. That
No,
I think
I
that's
mean,
just
yeah.
his character.
Yeah, he wants to groom Gon to be this badass fighter because he likes to kill strong fighters, but he's also kind of a pedophile. You know, like that's a thing.
Like, I don't
like,
think this is a case where it's like he's kind of a pedophile.
No.
Like,
he is.
he does have
Oh.
to be this way because the writer decided this character is going to be basically a pedophile,
Yeah.
and it's going to be
Okay.
yeah. There you
Yeah,
I
go.
didn't think it went there. I thought it was more just he was just like
I mean, he's that
excited by
too.
the possibility or something.
I mean,
why
he's
don't
that
they-
too. You
I
know,
mean-
he's that too. It's just, you know,
You can choose to, I guess, interpret it in many different ways. Some of
Yeah.
them more literal than others.
yeah.
Besides
It's
that, I thought it was a good episode. Besides that,
Oh
but-
yeah, it was a good episode.
oh, it was
for sure.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, the choreography was fantastic.
Yeah, and I liked I did think the whole bit was like, he did over explain the bungee gum a bit, I think, in the episode because we'd figured that out already. But yeah, like all fights in this show so far, they're all very interesting and kind of they do things you don't expect. My only complaint about the episode, and it's really not really a complaint, it's just more of an observation, is that the arc just ends. It's like, boom, we're done.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I
they
mean, did
achieved
what they came
they
to do.
achieved the goal of the arc. They achieved
Yeah.
both the goals of the arc.
They got money and they punched Hisoka in the face.
I think I just wasn't expecting it. I thought there was going to be like a cool down episode or something between that.
No,
And
there
they
is.
They just straight up left.
Yeah, no, the next episode is a cool down episode.
And now, so Hisoka now gets to challenge a floor master. More on that in 15,000 years.
Could he
Actually,
come
he
back
just
to that?
straight up leaves.
That's what I figured he would do.
Yeah, no, he doesn't challenge a floor master. Come on. He only cares about fighting strong dudes.
Aren't floor masters supposed to be strong?
Well, I mean, Hisoka's like 12 levels above everyone there.
Well,
I mean, just challenge one and get set for life and then move on. Can't you do that, right?
I will say that the manga comes back to this after the anime, after the point
Yes.
where the anime stops covering it.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, here's
Oh, so they actually bring up this plot point again?
Yep.
Heaven's Arena shows up once again.
okay. Well, here's my question: why was Hisoka there to begin with?
He wanted to fight Gon.
So
how
he
do
was
you know Gon's
anticipating.
gonna be there?
Yeah. How was he know? How did he know Gon was going to go there?
Illumi. No, like Hisoka explained it in an earlier episode. Basically, Illumi gave them the heads up that that's where they're going to go, so he went there.
Okay.
Oh, I must have missed that or something, I guess.
Because he was already built up to be like. Well, I guess that doesn't matter because they built themselves up pretty quick too. They were there for
Yeah.
a long time. I keep forgetting. It's like each episode takes place over months, basically.
Yeah, they were there for like 6 months, a year or something like. No, 6 months, a couple of months at least.
Yeah, it was 6 months, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were there for like 6 months, and Hisoka was there a little longer than that, or even short. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. He already knew Nen. He was going to go straight up to 200 anyway.
Like, I
Yeah.
think he may have gone there straight, like, maybe... No.
Like he probably had the one fight, and then they, knocked him up to 200.
Or I think so. You're arguing basically that Gon and Killua went to Heaven's Arena. Somehow, Hisoka found out because they decided to go to Heaven Arena after they left Killua's place. So, like, how
Right.
did Lumi know about that before they got there? But somehow
But
they got kicked off. Or
The problem is, I feel like we were told that Hisoka had already had several matches at the arena. Like he'd
he
already
did.
had this history where every time he fought, he would just straight up kill.
Yeah.
so yeah, my assessment is that Hisoka arrived after Gon and Killua, but then shot up to the
Faster
floors
than that.
above them. But somehow they didn't hear about any of Hisoka's fights, so they were surprised when he was there on the 200th floor or something.
Yeah. I mean, he probably shot up all the way up after like one fight or something. Because, I mean, he was already 200th floor level, when he got there.
Like
Yeah,
it's like Hisoka first fight on the first floor. Hisoka like raises his finger and a guy explodes and is like, "Please get him to the 200th floor right now."
Yeah, it was probably something like he probably used his bungee gum or something and they shot him straight up.
Yeah,
Well,
I think this is one of the examples where like it doesn't, I guess, matter too much, but
Yeah.
probably should have taken like a minute to explain what happened
Yeah,
here.
like they explained how he knew they were there, but they didn't go into how he shot up to the 200th floor faster than they did.
Without them knowing he was there, which is an important thing.
Right.
It's really and ultimately it's not that important. It's just something I noticed. That's all.
Yeah.
Because what does it matter really? But I guess the real point is that now this is over with. This arc, I guess, is over.
Yeah.
They're leaving. I'm assuming Hisoka is also leaving because he said at the end of the episode, it's like next time we're going to fight, it's going to be in the real world.
Yeah.
So I guess now we're on to York New City or something.
Oh yes.
Which
Well,
is definitely not New York.
Well,
Nope.
obviously.
No, but first they're going back to Gon's house.
Oh, that's right. They're going to go meet his aunt or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they have to get some. We're going to find out about some stuff next week.
Okay, good. I guess. I mean, I'll just say that like I continue to be in. This show is better than I thought it would be. I'll just put it like that.
I can say this: the next arc is 100 times better than the last one.
Yeah, I
Like,
would agree that the Hunter exam arc I felt was dragging for a while, but overall I've been enjoying the show.
Yeah, the Hunter exam arc is essentially the weakest arc in the show.
Well, good. You can only go up.
Yeah.
You know, one other thing I'll say too before we move on to the next show is that the opening has all these other characters that I have not seen yet. I had assumed that those would be other characters they would fight in the arena, but I guess not. So that's what I think. That's part of the reason why I was so shocked that they were done, because I'm like, well, he never fought the girl with the vacuum cleaner or whatever.
Well, no, that's the Phantom Troop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like I don't know too much about the show, but I recognize that like from I think they mentioned it earlier or something that tipped me off that this was clearly the Phantom Troop. But it's also been weird that we've been having this opening for like 20 episodes and we're only going to get to that group in a few episodes from now or something.
They're gonna use the opening for quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay, but
I think they're just lazy bastards.
But there's a lot of them. I mean, there's like what 10 members it looks like or something.
I think it's
13.
13.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, unlucky 13. So that's a lot of fights coming up then.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
it's not going to be a straight like everyone. Let's just take out every member of the Phantom Troop.
No, it's not going to be one of those Dragon Ball Z Inuyasha type things where everyone gets a fight.
Okay. Oh, we'll see what happens, I guess.
Like Hunter x Hunter has very unstandard arc structures.
Yeah, it's like this next arc structure is, I want to say it's closer to a crime novel than a shonen arc. Like if you were to do a crime novel in using the Hunter x Hunter universe, the next arc is pretty much what it would look like.
Okay.
So
Well, I'll go in with that expectation.
let's move on to Naruto Shippuden. Naruto Shippuden episode 143, The Eight Tails versus Sasuke. Oh man, fucking dipshit got wrecked.
Multiple times.
Shouldn't the title be The Eight Tails Rex Sasuke?
The Eight Tails destroys the perfect team.
Well, they need to be called the imperfect team now.
Okay,
They
so
got destroyed.
I'm changing the names. It's Sasuke, Android 16, High School Girl, and Bite Me.
Bite me,
Wait.
yes.
No.
Fight
Munch Makuchi.
Is it the water guys fight me?
No,
No,
Bite Me is
no,
Karin, because that's literally how she works. People bite her and they heal.
Oh, bite me! But you said high school girl. So who's
We
high
always
school?
call the sword guy high school girl because he's very feminine, sort of.
Oh, okay.
He acts like a high school girl.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
So
yeah,
like when I originally proposed the names, it was like he was Slippery when wet,
but
And
then
and
then
we
I'm
get
like,
Karin
no,
was High
she
School
is.
Girl, and then someone was like, it's
That was
funnier if
me.
it's the opposite way.
Yeah, no, that was me because she is slippery when wet.
she's always going to be slippery web with me. But
Yeah.
anyway,
No, her special technique is bite me.
yeah, let's talk about this for a second. So it is revealed in this episode that Karin pulls up her arm and then she has bite marks all over where she has been letting Sasuke bite her to drain her chakra and give it to him. But then
heal
later
him.
in the episode, we see she actually opens up her shirt practically, and there's bites all down the front of her chest.
Oh yes.
And not forget that when he does this, she gets really aroused.
Yes.
I don't know if those are all Sasuke bite marks, but it's just like, why?
Yeah, it's like I'd like to think they're all Sasuke bite marks because the other one is just like she's letting other dudes just like bite her breasts like that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But like they don't
It's like-
heal. Like eventually they're gonna run out of like.
How much was he biting her?
Bite marks don't heal. She's gonna run out of room. Like
Yeah, like it begged the question. I actually legit thought this. I don't know why, but I thought this. I'm like, okay, do the bite marks mean that like they're permanent? Like someone bites her there and that bite mark never goes away? Or does it mean that Sasuke has bit her like 37 times in the last week?
I think the assumption is that she's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, it's probably like scars or something.
Yeah, probably.
just why?
Because that's how her power works.
Well, yeah, that's because he wrote it that way. I'm just asking why.
I don't because she's slippery when wet.
Because I guess that's the ultimate fangirl dream is to be constantly bit by the brooding ninja guy. I don't know.
Like I guess the idea is she's supposed to be like a reverse vampire.
Yeah.
You know, like instead
the
of her
idea that
biting you. And,
the only thing that's interesting about that is that she gives her chakra to heal people, which is interesting. But the fact that she has to be bitten to do it is,
They
okay.
should just put her hand on Sasuke or something and just go like,
I mean, like I said, the thought was probably, oh, I'll just do a reverse vampire thing, and he didn't think it all the way through.
Well, or it was really, I think, honestly, just designed so that Karin could get off on the fact that Sasuke's putting his lips on her. I mean, I think that's really what it is.
Yeah, that's probably it. She needs an excuse to lust after him.
The other thing in this episode is, oh boy, here we go. Eye hacks, man. It solves any problem. You can be fighting the 8 tails, and you can just do them in with eye hacks.
Except he just lariats you. Lariat!
That was awesome, though.
But he
was
almost
just like,
won with that. You know, he almost won with those eye hacks.
Yes, he almost won with the eye hacks. But if this was 1-on-1, Sasuke would be dead right now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
he would have been dead like 3 times over or something.
Yeah, I mean, like the lariat would have been it.
I did agree with somebody who pointed out that in Naruto, the author really only is able to demonstrate how strong somebody is by having them just totally wreck someone who seems like they should be able to put up more of a fight.
Yeah.
Basically nerfs one person instead of buffing the other.
I mean, but that happens a lot. That's basically the entire existence of like Piccolo and Zoro.
Oh,
well, I mean, Zoro's always like wrecking people's faces, though. You know,
the thing that helps Zoro is that he actually does wreck in return.
Yeah,
but it's like when he kill.
So far, has anyone wrecked Zoro except for Mihawk? So far, in what we've seen on.
No, not
Enel.
Well, I mean, he wrecked everyone.
Yeah, but Zoro has like actual wins on his record, and many of them.
Yeah, like Zoro's got more wins than L's.
But
like
multiple times, there's a point where it's like, look what he's doing to Zoro! Holy shit, he's so strong!
Zoro gets like hurt a lot, but I don't know if
Yeah.
he necessarily loses. He always just gets really hurt during the process.
Zoro is not the thing that prevents Zoro from being a jobber is that he does win fights.
Yeah.
More
He's
often than
there
he loses.
only to lose to the big bad guy. He's there to lose to the big bad guy, and then destroy someone to demonstrate, man, Zoro actually is a super powerful badass. Which makes the villain also a super powerful badass.
Yeah, we should probably save any more of this for the next episode because that's going to be all.
Well, why don't we talk about One Piece?
Wait, but I have one other thing to say about Shippuden though, and this is just another weird out of left field thing that happened. But the dude with the curse mark just de-aged suddenly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Turned into
because
a-
never
carrying
gets
his body with Sasuke to heal him. It was just like, why?
Like
just
that
got
never gets
young.
explained.
No, he re-ages, right? At the end of the episode, right, or something.
At some point, yeah.
He wasn't at the end of the episode. He was like carrying Karin on his shoulder as a kid at the end. So he's still a kid. I'm sure he'll go back to normal eventually. Just a weird thing. I'm just like, okay, we didn't know that would happen. Nobody knew that would happen. Then Karin was like, what happened to you?
Yeah, it's like, what?
Very weird. And then there were the people watching the rapping ninja guy, and they were like freaked out about it.
Oh,
and
dude.
Go ahead.
He's just like, how many fucking swords can I hold?
Yeah.
All of them.
I think that's about all I've got on that.
Okay.
I mean, the fight was cool. The animation was cool. The choreography was cool.
Yeah.
Killer Bee was pretty cool. And I guess fuck Team Sasuke. And I guess
I liked seeing the imperfect team get smashed and Sasuke get beat. I did like that. I like awesome. Killer Bee, but I just don't like that he raps. I just think it's stupid. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's just dumb. I mean, I'd liked him better if he had done it once, but the fact that he does it all the time just kind of gets old.
No, you're not wrong. It's just it's stupid. I'm listening to it and I'm like, no.
But I mean, it's not enough to make me not like him.
No, I mean, like him wrecking Sasuke is enough for me to say, yeah, no, that's awesome. It's just I'm like, can you stop doing that? Is my only thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to One Piece. One Piece 377. The pain of my crewmates is my pain. Zoro's desperate fight. In this episode, nothing happened. Nothing at all.
This 5-minute episode. I mean, the 5 minutes that did happen were pretty amazing, but it was like a 5-minute long episode.
Like they literally just re-aired the last half of the last episode.
This is true
because they knew they had to end on that point at that part.
Yeah,
and they were like, "Oh fuck."
I mean, I think you guys are overselling it a little bit. I mean, it had one of the longest recaps that we've had in a long time. I won't doubt that. But
like,
I mean,
it's so long they couldn't. They just put the title card in the middle of it.
Yes, I know. But let's talk about what did happen. I mean, some cool stuff happened. Like Zoro got a hit in on Kuma and it damaged him. And then we learned that Kuma is actually a cyborg.
Right.
And we then learn that Kuma basically decides to make a deal with Zoro, and by which he will extract all of the pain and suffering that Luffy went through, and then says that he'll only accept Zoro's terms if Zoro takes in all that suffering, which was a pretty awesome scene.
Oh yeah.
I still don't understand why Kuma made this deal. He could have easily just taken Luffy and just,
Well, I mean,
at
the end of the episode, we sort of found out that he knows Luffy's father.
We have to be real
careful
here. We have to be real careful here. I don't want to say, but Kuma is a complex character. Yeah. And so all you're really meant to know here is that his ways are mysterious and you're not sure why. And that's all I'm going to say.
And I mean, he also did indicate that he does know Luffy's father in some way.
Yeah, he knows. He knows of Dragon.
Know him or know of him? There's a difference.
It's not explained at this point. It's not explained.
It's not explained, but the line makes when the first time I read the line, I was like, so he's met him at some point.
He says it in a way where he's like, so it's just like this is like your son, Dragon, as if he had been talking to Dragon.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's all you're left to know. So it's either he knows Dragon very well or he knows of Dragon very well, but that's all you know. And so that's about it. That's all we'll say. So Yeah, and he pretty much just leaves after that. So he was tasked to destroy the island, and he just sort of disobeys and just leaves. That's what we know.
Yeah, Kuma does what he wants.
He kind of does, yeah. And then we find Zoro at the end, just depleted of 90% of his blood, standing
Literally
there,
standing in like a pool of his own blood.
yeah, and acting like nothing went wrong.
Yeah, like he's got all his blood is on the ground, and he's standing there like, no, I'm good. I meant to take all my blood out of my body.
Yeah, he was trying to be very cool about it. He's like, no, I can handle this.
And he was cool about it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And for anybody who's listening who hasn't seen One Piece, this moment with Zoro started sacrificing himself, or opting to sacrifice himself for his captain, it comes back in the future. This is a kind of a big deal. So.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can't have a moment this big and not,
Yeah, it's a big deal. So anyway, not much else happened, like you said, because it's just it all built up to those final moments, basically.
Yeah,
I like how Kuma was like, well, I guess I had to reveal I'm a cyborg. Better just start doing like straight up cyborg things.
Yeah.
Like my eye is blinking red. I'm firing my laser. Blah.
Like he stopped giving a shit at that point. He's like, I don't gotta hide it no more. Everyone else is down, and so what the hell?
And this is the first introduction of what they call the pacifistas. So he calls himself that. He says, I'm a pacifista. I'm a biological creation by the great
Dr. Vegapunk.
Dr. Vegapunk, who we have heard of once before.
And we still haven't met.
No, he's a very mysterious figure in the One Piece world. But Dr. Vegapunk basically worked on Kuma and made him into a cyborg. So
yeah, because reasons.
So yeah, pacifista is another word you'll need to know in the future.
In the fairly soon future.
Also left is that Sanji tried to do his sacrifice, but Zoro was like, no, bitch, this is mine.
Yeah, I did like that scene.
Sanji couldn't have handled that. I mean, Zoro, every time he fights, he takes on a humongous amount of damage. Yeah. Like, he's built like a tank, so usually when Sanji fights, he comes out with significantly less damage than Zoro.
I tend to agree. My impression of Sanji has always been that he is a very strong fighter on the team, but he is not as strong as Zoro.
Right.
That's my impression.
I'll go with that, but I feel like I should also point out, like, Zoro's like every fight in the series he's had since, I want to say, Buggy, he's done like injured.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's literally still licking his wounds from the last fight, and in that fight he was licking the wounds from the fight before that.
Yeah. I mean, he gets wrecked, but he wins, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like, he's built up a humongous amount of damage, and he's still able to deal it out. It's in such a crazy way.
Yeah.
Zoro is a tank.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's One Piece.
Yeah, Zoro's a tank.
That's that.
So, we'll see you guys next week for episode 43. Good night, everyone.
Right.
Night.
Yep.
Have a good night.
Bye.